And welcome back to Trial Tuesday with attorney David Aylor. Today we're discussing bond hearings. Do you need an attorney to represent you? David is here with weighing in on that. Gosh, it seems like you would have to have an attorney, right?
Well, you should. Ultimately, in the end, you'll probably save a lot of money. And the reason is, when you go to a bond hearing, you're going to have a very short period of time that you're going to actually speak in front of a judge. The two things that the judge is going to be looking at is whether, one, you're a risk of flight, and two, you're a danger to community. Now, you're allowed to have family members there, friends there, community people that know you, maybe your employer, that sort of thing. But what
character witnesses, so to speak.
Exactly. Yeah. But you're not there to really argue your case. So it's going to be very, like I said, limited amount of time to speak. And what a lawyer is going to be able to do is really kind of put all that information forward. A lot of times I know when we go in my office, you say, look, we're on the case. This case is just beginning. You know, you don't really argue the facts, but you do mention a little bit about the case. And what you're trying to do is get that bond as low as possible. What you'd really like is a personal recognizance bond, which is also known as a PR bond.
Sure.
That means you basically get out and don't put any money down. When you go in there by yourself, you go in there without representation, you know, very much a lot of things go really quickly. A lot of things don't get stated. That bond may be really high. Then you end up putting a lot of money down either through the state or you're paying a bondsman a lot of money. So it's very important to really have that representation there.
I think the bottom line is when you go to a bond hearing, the average person doesn't know what to say.
Exactly.
They don't know how to represent themselves. They become emotionally involved with the moment, of course.
Right.
An attorney knows how to separate, as yourself, knows how to separate that emotion to giving the facts that the judge wants to hear. You don't need all that other stuff that you, as an individual representing yourself, and you know the biggest fool is the one that represents himself
every time,
a lot of times. But with you being there, you know what to say, and just as important, what not to say.
Exactly, and you know from being in this business a long time and covering and seeing a lot of bonds hearing, you see a lot of people say things that actually hurts themselves.
Oh, absolutely.
Because those are recorded statements. You go in there and you tell the judge what is important to that judge to make that decision, as opposed to going outside the scope of that.
Sure.
And you know, a lot of times you have victims who come in there and they'll make statements, and that'll raise the bond a lot higher. You know, when a person's unrepresented and they go into a bond hearing and then the victim gets up, they're emotional, you know, the judge is going to be affected by that. And if you don't have a defense to that per se with your attorney, you can really see a bond go sky high, and maybe you don't have the money, maybe your family doesn't have the money to get you out.
Let's just say the judge sets the bail at the bond at $100,000. How much of that do you have to come up with normally?
Well, you know, obviously you could put the whole bond up, but then you would, that money would just be sitting in there until your case was completely dissolved. But usually when you're looking at a bonding company, they're going to take about 10%. They can't take above that. That money does not come back. A lot of people think, well, I gave them that money, now the case is over. No, that's going to be the interest on it that they're getting. So that money's gone. Sometimes it may be around 8%, but usually it's going to be right about 10%. So you're looking at somewhere in that range, at least a partial portion of that to get the case started. So again, when you look at it from that angle, putting $10,000 in, it's going to be a lot cheaper to get that attorney to start the case off. Then that attorney also may be able to have a good relationship with the bondsman, can kind of work with the bondsman to get your son or daughter, your loved one, whoever it may be, out quickly, you know, and try to move through that process. Because I can promise you the person on the other side of that TV screen wants to get out as quick as they can.
Oh, no kidding. So here's the bottom line. If you behave yourself, you probably won't have to go to bond court, but if you do, give you a call.
That would be good.
And what is your number?
577-5530 is the way they can get in touch with me, and I promise we'll have somebody there.
Yeah, right on. Attorney David Aylor, always a pleasure.
Thanks for
We've got
having me.
more of Low Country Live in just a moment. Stay with us.